They say a badge is supposed to mean service. That morning it sounded like a gavel smacked down on a formica table hard enough to rattle the salt shaker. I remember the bell over the door still swinging, rain still dripping off my jacket, coffee steam curling like a small mercy, and this voice flat, bored, mean. Move along, buddy. Paying customers only. I'd been a Tuesday regular at Marla's Kitchen in Redwood Bluff, Ohio, same corner booth, because it let me see the front door, the alley door, and the reflection in the pie case. Old habits don't retire just because you do. Two scrambled dry wheat black coffee. Counted exact change so nobody had to pretend with me. That's all I wanted, 15 quiet minutes and eggs that didn't talk back. Lieutenant Travis Harlan didn't ask. He announced. He had the posture of a guy who peaked at 17 and never got the memo. The parade ended, creased uniform jaw tight, the kind of aftershave you can smell from another table. Behind him trailed Officer Nate Bowers, young jittery eyes doing math and coming up short. ID Harlan said, like my name was the crime. I slid a small stack of receipts across the table, the last 6 Tuesdays, booth 5 stamped on everyone. Marla caught my eye from behind the counter, chin up in that don't you dare way mothers use on toddlers and men with guns. Those could be anyone's, Harlan said, picking one up like it might bite him. Marla leaned in. Booth number's there, and he always pays it, ask my register. Ma'am, I wasn't speaking to you. Something about the way he said ma'am like it was gum stuck to his shoe made the room tighten. You could hear the bacon stop sizzling. Forks hovered. Mrs. Patel's pencil froze above her crossword. The whole diner went on pause, waiting to see if December was going to turn into July for no reason at all. I kept my voice level the way you do when loud is exactly what they're fishing for. Lieutenant, I'm eating breakfast. If there's a problem, I'll finish quick and be on my way. Harlan's smile had no teeth in it. Problem is vagrancy. Problem is folks feeling uncomfortable. Which folks? Marla asked. Name one. He didn't. Instead, he looked me over. Wet coat, old boots, beard trimmed with a gas station razor, and made that little half-smirk men make when they think they've already won. Driver's license, he said. State ID, not that card. This card is a veteran's ID, I said, sliding it forward. Miles Carter, Staff Sergeant, 20 years, 82nd Airborne. He glanced barely. Doesn't matter who you were. In my town, you don't take up space you didn't buy. I felt something shift inside me, not a fuse blowing, just a steel door rolling shut. Don't call her ma'am like that, I said, nodding at Marla. Her name's Marla. The room moved as one tiny, but it moved. The drywall guys at the counter straightened. Mrs. Patel's pencil came down. Bauer's thumb found his radio and froze there. What did you say to me? Harlan stepped close enough for me to count the white thread in his collar. Close enough for me to smell cheap coffee and expensive ego. I said her name is Marla, and I paid for this seat. He unclipped his cuffs like he was unsheathing destiny. You're under arrest, loitering, disturbing the peace, refusing to identify. Marla said he's identified himself 3 times. Ma'am, I stood up slow, hands where he could see them, eyes where he couldn't miss them. Lieutenant, I said calm as a winter lake before you do something you can't undo. I'm going to make one phone call. That's my right. Here and now. He laughed short, dry, a little too loud. Go ahead. Call your lawyer. Call the internet. Call Oprah. I flipped open a phone so old it still creaked, screen spidered, casing taped. Scrolled a contact list with maybe 4 names in it and pressed 1. When the voice picked up, it was brisk, familiar, all business. Carter, it's happening again, I said. 3 words, that's all. We're Marla's Kitchen, Redwood Bluff. 10 minutes. Don't move. Don't get clever. The line went dead. I put the phone away and sat. My eggs were cooling. Harlan leaned over the table, both hands on the laminate like he owned gravity. You think you just won something? No, I said, taking a bite. I think breakfast is better hot. Time slows when a room is waiting. 10 minutes turned into a long hallway with no doors. Harlan flexed authority in little bursts. Stand up, don't speak. Eyes on me, and I met each one with a nod. A yes, sir, and exactly nothing else. That's the part that gets them. Not rage, not tears, just the sound of their own voice hitting a wall that won't move. Then the bell jingled and power changed chairs. A woman in a charcoal suit walked in like the floor had been laid for her mid-40s, steady, the kind of steadiness that makes other people correct their posture. Two investigators flanked her quiet shoes, serious eyes. She opened a leather case and flashed a badge. You don't see unless you're in real trouble. Special Inspector Lia Grant, she said. Office of the State Inspector General. Lieutenant Harlan, badge number. He blinked. You can't. Badge number, she repeated. Not louder, sharper. 9371, Bowers blurted, then turned the color of printer paper. Officer Bowers, thank you. Lieutenant, you are being removed from duty pending an active investigation into civil rights violations. You will surrender your weapon and badge to Investigator Holt. Harlan's hand twitched toward his holster. Holt and the other investigator were already there, hands hovering, not touching that very polite shape of don't. Harlan swallowed. The badge came off. The pistol followed heavy on the table, the sound of a story ending. Ms. Grant, he said, trying on a smile he didn't own, this is a misunderstanding. This veteran, she said, no heat, just corrective surgery. And then she did a thing I still replay when the nights get long. She turned to us, the drywall guys, Mrs. Patel Marla, with a coffee pot like a scepter, and said, who witnessed the lieutenant threatening arrest without cause? Hands went up. Phones went up. A whole town suddenly brave. She glanced back at me. Carter, are you recording? Ho, I said, and she cracked a grin I hadn't seen on her in a decade. Doesn't matter, she said. Ohio's one-party consent. And we don't need it. We've got 8 months of complaints that went missing and just happened to show up on my desk this morning. Harlan lunged 2 inches of motion, all instinct, zero future, and the investigators flowed between him and the rest of the room like water finding the lowest path. Cuffs. Click. Silence. Bowers stared at the floor. I filed some of those, he said, to no one. I have copies, emails, body cam that didn't get lost. I'm done. I can't. He unclipped his badge too, laid it beside Harlan's like a little brother finally stepping out of a shadow. Grant nodded once, the kind of nod that says noted, recorded, mattered. Then she pulled out a chair and sat across from me. You look terrible, Carter. You look employed, I said. State looks good on you. We had history, different deserts, same heat. Saved each other's lives, once in a trash-strewn alley on the other side of the world when everything went white and loud and simple. Why didn't you call sooner, she asked. Pride, I said. And Tuesdays. Pride doesn't keep you warm. Neither does pity. We let the quiet sit between us. The diner exhaled. Somebody cried softly. Somebody else laughed, the laugh people do when the boulder finally moves a hair and the river remembers how to be a river. By noon, the video was everywhere, even though I never filmed a thing. The drywall guys had angles. Mrs. Patel had a better one. A college kid in the back had edited captions that somehow made me sound wiser than I felt. The local news showed up, then the state, then my daughter. Not all at once, life doesn't arrange itself into tidy acts unless you're writing about it later. What happened next came like rain, learning how to fall again, one drop, then another, then a curtain you could walk through and come out different. Marla put a slice of lemon meringue in front of me and told me to shut up and chew. Mrs. Patel pressed a business card into my palm, library literacy program. Would I consider Tuesdays? A state trooper with careful eyes stopped by my park bench at dusk and said, if you need a ride, I'm around. No strings. The police chief called full of apology like he just discovered gravity and asked if I'd sit on a civilian oversight board. I said I'd think. It's my favorite answer when I'm not sure my legs are under me yet. And then my phone buzzed with a number I didn't know and a name I did. Dad, the floor did a thing I won't describe because I'll just start lying to make it sound cleaner than it was. Her voice was older. 13 going on grown. Exactly the person I left so she wouldn't see me like this. I saw the video, she said, sniffling and pretending she wasn't. Mom's well, Mom. We want you to come home. Not the house if that's too much. The basement's fixed up like an apartment. Separate door. White noise machine. We can, start small. I sat in Marla's tiny office with the door closed, the world narrowing down to a voice I'd been trying not to think about, because hope is a habit you have to exercise, or it atrophies into something that looks like sleep. I don't know how, I told her. I don't know if I remember normal. Me neither, she said. We'll make a different one. So I said yes. Not the big cinematic yes that fixes everything in one crescendo. A small one. The kind that fits in your pocket and doesn't scare you when you touch it too often. Thursday morning, I walked into the VA with my name in my mouth like a prayer I'd forgotten. Wednesday, I let my kid legally and carefully, and much too slow for my taste, drive me home. Marla hugged me like she'd been waiting 3 wars for it. Mrs. Patel cried in a way that made my chest hurt in a good way. Officer Bowers emailed Leah Grant 16 attachments and then turned in his resignation. As for Lieutenant Harlan, look, I know what you want. You want iron bars and orange jumpsuits and a judge banging a mallet so hard the camera shakes. Maybe you'll get that. Maybe you won't. What I got was quieter, and I think sometimes louder in the ways that matter, a room full of people learning that they're allowed to say no out loud. A town that realized silence is a kind of vote. A daughter who said, come home, and a man who finally believed she meant him. I wish I could tell you the ending lands clean, the system reformed by. Friday, the comments kind the job offer sitting on my table like a sure thing. Truth is messier. Some folks call me a grifter. Some called me a hero. Both are lazy shortcuts when the real answer is human. The Attorney General announced oversight. The union lawyer barked on TV. The restaurant sold more pie in a week than they had all summer. Men I never met bought my breakfast for a month, and I paid forward every one of them because dignity goes both ways. There's one thing I keep coming back to, though, the moment before the door opened and power changed chairs. Harlan owned the air. We all let him because that's easier than paying attention. And then one person said a name, Marla's name, and the whole room remembered its spine. That's the part I keep replaying. Not the badge on the table, not the cuffs. The remembering. Maybe that's the real work now, making remembering a habit. Remembering that a booth is a booth if you paid for it. Remembering that I, sir, and ma'am aren't weapons. Remembering that some battles are won by not raising your voice, by putting your hands where everyone can see them, by saying 3 words into a bad connection and trusting someone who knows you'll pick up. I'm not asking you to like me. I'm telling you what happened and what it did to my Tuesdays. I used to sit in booth 5 because it was the only place I could breathe. Next week I'll sit there because it's mine. And maybe because my daughter wants pancakes and I make them better than I used to make peace with myself. If you watch this far, I want to hear you. What part of this is right? What part is wrong? Where the line is between keeping order and breaking people, and who you became when somebody misjudged you. Drop your city, drop your story, drop the moment you remembered your spine. And if you've got a Tuesday that needs a new pattern, start next week. I'll be there counting change, learning how to breathe in public again.